Hello and welcome to another Revel Coach Conversation with your hosts, Alison Nissen and my sister, Marcy Stoudt. We are the co-founders of Revel Coach, and we are so excited today. We have Steliana Economu with us. Steliana, welcome.
Hi, Alison. Hi, Marcy. So nice to be here.
Tell us what do you do with your how do you spend your time?
How do I spend my time? It's such a great question. I spend my time actually in two parts, and they match very well together. The first part of my day, from 7 to 3:30, I spend coaching, mostly from home and writing. Sometimes I go to university to teach, but then the most emotionally engaging part of my day is after 3:30 or my kids come home. And that's where the mother leader bit comes in. And that's where I spend some time being, leaving what I'm trying to teach and coach by other women, be there with my kids and spending time with them. And yeah, let's just say being challenged by their emotional outbursts.
I always
And
say
if I had, yeah, go ahead.
children are our teachers, and every day you go to school starting at 3:30.
Yes. So that my day, it's really spendless. And if I have any time at 8:30 after they go to bed, I start spend some time writing. And that's what I feel is my selfish time. I like this is my time.
Oh.
Anyway, that's my day, three parts.
Well, we're so excited to have you here today. I think, we've had a little insight to your work and everything, and we're excited to share it with our listeners. So I'd love to start first with your book, Mothers as Leaders. Tell us a little bit about, what made you get to the point where you wanted to write the book, and then we got a lot of more questions after that.
Mm, okay. It was a moment in the kitchen. All right. I will share that. It's very personal. Um, the trigger moment is where I told my husband I came up with this idea that mothers are leaders and I want to write a book about it. It was in 2012. I just had a small baby at home and I just wrote a blog about my experience of career woman being at home, and I during the day I read 30 comments from people all over the world saying we understand. And at night, kitchen moment, 8:30, I told my husband, I said, I think I'm onto something. I think I should write a book about it. And he literally burst into laughter. He has a lot of belief in me, but I was not a writer. English is not my first language. I was a trainer. So it's like, oh, I understand. You're excited. No, this is special. You're not a writer, right? So anyway, that was my challenge. But that's the moment that triggered. And the more the more I remember his laughter, the more I thought I can do this. So I guess that one was the challenge, and I guess it's always been in me. I always wanted, if man said I can't do something, I will do it. And then it was the reality of why I wanted to write the book.
I think that's great because just from the simple, information I have, I think it's so powerful for you to tell stories that are honest and they have humor to it. And it's just the real stories of mothers who are leaders in their home for centuries. They've been leaders of their home and leaders, now, more in the workforce and everything. And having those types of captivating stories, like to kind of have real life stories that women can relate to, is so powerful to read. And I'd love for you to share just a little insight about the book, because I think many people, would love a book like this and be able to read, the stories from the infants to the trials and tribulations and the joys of motherhood.
Yeah. Well, when I started to write in my first blog, the one that got attention, it was about, my story. Oh, how tough it is to be an ambitious woman. And now I have all these demands, and how I was dealing with joy on one hand and frustration. But the real insight came when I started to interview other women. Because deep down inside, I thought, I'm pretty privileged. I live in London, close to Oxford Street. This is, what am I having to complain? There are 2 billion mothers in the world. I researched for the book. 2 billion mothers, and most of them have it much more tough than I do. And for me, I never thought I want to write a book to tell people how, because I know all these things. It came out of my own struggle and my own desire to find answers and perspective. One of the story that shifted my whole life was the story of Tanya. It's in the second chapter of my book. And I came across that story via my cleaner. Talking about have to jump off social levels. I wanted to have women from different cultures and different professions to see the spectrum. And my cleaner, barely spoke English, said, I don't have it, but I have my friend who's from Mongolia and is political refugee, and she was a university professor. And when I interviewed Tanya, and this is not her real name, but when I interviewed her for a book, I could not believe what she had to go through. Hearing about the persecution, the fact that she had a baby when she was 20, that she had a baby at 6 months at home, and she was arrested by the police in Mongolia, beaten in a way that even now at the age of 55, she can't walk. But then all that time, she felt the best way she can be a mother, it's not per se just being there all the time and doing the feeding and bottle, but being there for her country and standing up for her values. And it was so different from my world. I was crying, but I was in this almost shock in the beginning. And I had one call and then another call. And I think we spent 2 months of a lot of Zoom calls to just get to the point of actually what is motherhood? Because it's not just bringing your kids to the best school and making sure that you read all the Gina Ford books. And for me, it's more about being that leader and being a role model in the kid's life. And I mean, Tunga is an extreme example. I mean, I have stories of corporate women like CEO profile, and they had their own challenges, but all those stories from Tanya to also the young American of 29 who moved to Amsterdam, and she had left her career. And when I interviewed her, she had she was still breastfeeding her baby. All those perspectives helped me see that we're not alone. And by hearing other people's stories, we can help each other put perspective, but also allowing us to be ourselves and forgive ourselves if we are not good mothers, right? According to what society says, because every society has their own definition of good mothers.
Steli, can you tell me how you've been able to take the lessons you learned from the people you've interviewed and put it into practice into what you're doing for coaching right now?
Oh, thank you for that question. It was a very natural process. I didn't have a plan. I saw your question. I thought of, no, it was good if I had a business plan. No, I did not. The stories came, it was my hobby. So when I was working at Shell at the time, and my colleagues didn't know I was writing. It was a big surprise to them when I said, hey, look, that's my book. So it started there. So while I was still at Shell in the last year and a half, one of the women representing the women network at Shell says, you got to do something for us. I said, what do you want me to do? I was an internal coach and a trainer. I said, no, we want to know about your book. Well, that's my book. Read it. No. You got to work your magic. Come and do a session for us. That's where it started. So I thought, okay, these are the women international. So I think we had 30 people in the room and more people online. This was the first group ever. And I had to create a workshop for them, taking the teaching of the books. That workshop, actually, still the basic of that workshop I've been using for so many companies, for so many engagements. Because in that workshop, I distilled, what are I call it the 5 behaviors, the 5 traits that differentiate women who made it to the top, going back to my book, like my research, right? All the 50 interviews, women who made it and became vice presidents or became politicians, and despite having kids, and there no regrets. And the women who maybe said, yeah, I have a good life and my husband and my family, but there's that inch of regret that came up in the interviews. And those behaviors are knowing yourself, know your strengths, your vulnerability, your biases, um, blossom. I love that word. Yeah, I look at Marcy now and I think of that, right? Let your beauty to shine. Let your enthusiasm show. Don't be afraid to share your ideas of other women, of thinking of jealousy. So that's the second one. Ask for help and give help. That's the third one. Um, Explore. Right? I used to tell women, like, especially in corporate America, be curious, go to networking events. I know you don't have time, but now is the time. Don't hide yourself behind the computer. So go talk to people, explore. And at the end, it's just the hardest one is believe in yourself. So know yourself, blossom, explore, give help and ask for help, um, and believe in yourself. All of those things for me make that framework. And it sounds very easy. But then from that, I built this workshop where I engaged with women and I kind of held them for questions to realize that although they say, oh, I don't have leadership experience, I'm just a secretary. I'm like, no, you're not a secretary. I tell them, how many kids do you have and how old are they? It's a question I ask with. And they say, oh, no, 20 and 15. I said, okay, you have 35 years of leadership experience. So what I do in the workshop, I ask questions to help women uncover all the things that actually they do with their kids and their really leadership behaviors and maybe how they can translate that into the business world. So that's one. So the workshop is one. I call it the Dare to Dream workshop. That I've been running this workshop, wow, in many different formats. So at Shell and a couple of networks. Then I became independent. So I left in 2020. And I was lucky because lucky and mislucky. It was a pandemic and everything was closed. But then I got huge companies wanted to do something for their resource groups. So I had Microsoft Romania contacted me and I did the workshop for the women network. Renault also, Heineken headquarter in the Netherlands. Again, I did something for one of their diversity groups. The similar workshop. It's I always said it's not just for women. So I keep saying, don't send just the women. Use it as an employee resource group. Um, and men do show up, but it's all about not separating work life from family life and making it okay to speak about the struggle. So that's been my first step. So through the workshops, I could reach, I think more than, I don't know, more than 1,000 people. Then in conferences, various speaking engagements in Equal Pay, in Prague, actually. And my coaching, because what I find is the moment you speak about a certain topic, I guess you have it as well, Alison, right? You attract a certain audience. So now I am part of one of the executive coaching firms based in New York. And we have many coaches all over the world. And the profile is there. And obviously, I guess because I present myself as writing mothers as leaders, I'm attracting a certain group of clients. And the good news is, I guess, for the world and for America, is I am amazed that nowadays some of the senior vice presidents in huge company, Pfizer, MedLife, they tell me, oh, I can tell you, you know what? I just have a baby and I have 2 more kids at home. And they feel like it's okay with me to also share about their life. Like, I know you're paid by my company, but I want to talk to you because you get it. I don't have to explain it to you. So there is this sense of, yes, even though I do executive coaching in the context of, the company paying for it and the career development, I think more and more companies are recognizing that we have both.
Well, I think it's such a great mix. Like, I love how you tell the story because there is something true about a female demographic that has a thin resume because they stayed home with the kids that causes insecurity because they don't have like the title they could hang on to or the specific things. And so to have somebody like you lead them through, here are the skills, like, some stay-home moms, they'll do fundraisers and raise $25,000-$50,000 with a team of volunteers. And they do it through negotiating these big like discounts with the food and everything. And if they were in corporate America, I mean, they'd run circles around some of these guys who, are a little late, they're, a little, because people have to attend because of their title. They're not maybe as prepared or things like that. So if any woman, these stay-home women that don't feel like they have the right and the leadership skills could watch some of the guys and how they do it, they'd be like, if I were in a meeting like that, nobody would come to my second meeting. I'd be in charge of the entire fundraiser by myself. Like they're good at like casting vision and things like that. So I love that kind of, you're there for her. And then tell me more about how, when you're more in the corporate space, how you're, the fact that you do this mothers as leaders work and insight, how do you apply it in corporate America to both genders, like moms, dads, non-parents?
No, very good question. I find that I'm working on my second book now, and I'm all my head to it. And the answer comes through that. I find that we can't have more mothers as leaders if we don't create a space in society for fathers to speak more about that role they're playing. So I am starting my second book called Families as Teams. And it was triggered, corporate America, by a panel I've done for Salesforce Benefits, where they said, well, Sally, it seems a bit discriminating, why are not fathers? I said, no, it just happens that the book is called Mothers as Leaders, but obviously we said, let's call it Families as Teams. And we had in the panel 3 young fathers as well, which I think was great, because we see there is a need in let's say the corporate world, and also in the way we look at HR policies. I was human resources manager before, so that's why I'm saying of a lot, like making it more inclusive for men to also speak about their parenthood responsibilities, to make it okay to be an ambitious man who wants to have a career, but without sacrificing the time with their kids. I mean, I find it with my own husband, who is in corporate America now, and not having to hide their not their career ambition, but their family ambition. I'm doing this. I'm since 2020 to address the believe in yourself. The last behavior. I started to bring a coaching program, which is I call it a bit more deep. And it goes all the way to reframing your brain, rewiring your brain through positive intelligence. I realized that, you can tell people, yes, smile, believe in yourself. It's not going to help. There is a lot of inner work we all need to do. I need to do every day to just be aware of my negative emotions and being able to. And that includes imposter syndrome and, all kind of issues we have, both men and women. And initially, it's a 2-month program. It's quite intense. You work on self-doubt, you do mindfulness every day, you share with other group of people. And initially, my clients were mainly moms, managers in multinationals. Why? Because they thought Steliana understands moms. It was, I think 2 years ago when I moved here, that I actually had a couple of sessions where secretly a couple of dads, they didn't know me very well. They came via my husband. You know how things work, right? Like, hey, your wife is doing something interesting. And these were traders. I'm not kidding you. When I saw their name, I thought, that's not how I knew this person, right? They're all tough guys working in trading. But can I come? I was like, is it allowed for men? That's the first thing they asked me. I said, of course it's allowed for men. Fine. There was this sense they have to ask for permission to be getting coaching for the whole bit, right? I said, yes, I have some issues at work, but my real problem is the constant dilemma I have. How do I keep my provider role? Because yes, my wife is staying at home. I have 3 kids, special needs, and I have to be the provider. Do I want it? No. Sometimes I want to be with the kids. So it's really making it okay. So I try to, like, one father and then a second father, and using that example to show that it's really families as teams. And yeah, fathers need coaching too.
I think it's so great because I feel like corporate America has done a fantastic job of, laying out, a path for women to be successful as executives and mothers without sacrifice. So when a woman needs to like go to a sick child doctor's appointment or something like that, they're like, go. But it's time for the men to have that, the fathers to have that same experience. And I do think corporate America is very, diverse sensitive. So they do want to be there. Policies are there. But I think your work is so strong because it's kind of their negative talk. They think they can't be a coach if their son's baseball team has practice at 5, meaning they need to leave at 4. They think they can't go home and help this. But their work, if they're still in their like a results-oriented work, if they're kind of like still the results and their titles and their teams and everything like that, they absolutely can. So that's where the work is really nice. And it's great for them to, I think one of the benefits of this current generation is fathers want to be as engaged as mothers with their children's lives and things like that. So I absolutely love the work you're doing. I feel like I could talk to you forever. And unfortunately, our time is up. But before we end, can you just share, if somebody wants to get your book or get in touch with you or follow you, what's the best way for our audience to learn more about you?
Yes, sure. So if you are interested in my book, it is on Amazon, Mothers as Leaders. You might have to put Steliana in there to make sure that there are lots of books about mothers on Amazon. So Mothers as Leaders. I have a website, StelianaEconomu.com, and a blog, mothersasleaders.com. You can always join my list, and I post things every time. I have a community on LinkedIn, Mothers as Leaders Learning Across Borders, and I'm always excited to help mothers from all kind of walks of life to go on after their dreams. That's my secret mission. Maybe not that secret, but just really give permission to women and men to go after their dreams and don't think that motherhood or fatherhood is just all duty and hard work. It's fun too.
Well, it's definitely fun too. I will concur with that. And so, Steliana, thank you so much for joining us on another Revel Coach Conversation.
Revel Coach is a collaborative platform that builds leadership programs for entrepreneurs, coaches, executives, and authors. For more information, visit us at revelcoach.com and follow us on LinkedIn to never miss an update.